Quick question for everybody. Who is your favorite Call of Duty developer? Treyarch? Infinity Ward? How about this? Who was your favorite COD developer before they were making COD? Yeah, Activision recruited some very talented studios to work on the franchise, and many of you have probably played their other games without even realizing it. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the page. Chaos here. We're going to be checking out some of the best non-COD games that were made by COD developers. And before anyone says anything, you will not be seeing any Infinity Ward games on this list because, well, Infinity Ward has never made a non-COD game. Fun fact for you. So let me know in the comments which of these you played. Drop a like. Make sure you have those notifications on. And Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer. This one came from Treyarch. It's a game that is about as far away from Call of Duty as you can get. Following the success of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, Activision rushed to get some similar titles on the shelves, which led them to Kelly Slater's doorstep. Now, Kelly Slater is widely regarded as one of the best surfers of all time, and while a surfing game doesn't sound like a very good idea on the surface, it actually worked pretty well. Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer launched in late 2002, had good sales, had good reviews. It wasn't universally accessible like the Tony Hawk games, but it did have a niche audience who loved it for what it was. Heck, Treyarch even made Tony Hawk a playable character. It's interesting that we don't get more surfing video games, but if you're itching to play one, this is a good start. Next up, Soldier of Fortune. This came from Raven Software. Now, Raven has a long history with first-person shooters, and one of the biggest claims to fame was the Soldier of Fortune series. The original game launched on the PC in early 2000 and got a ton of attention. It had graphic violence as well as really good gameplay and extremely impressive technical elements. You played as a mercenary, traveling the globe, trying to stop a nuclear terrorist plot while using tons of guns and disposing of enemies. The game, it was popular enough to get a few sequels, which varied in quality, but they were still fun. So for the most part, Soldier of Fortune really put Raven Software on the map, and it helped get Activision's attention for the company's future. Next up, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions from Beenox. Now, Beenox has been one of the main support developers for COD, and they've also been the main PC porters. But did you guys know? They worked on Spider-Man, yeah. It was released in 2010, it got great reviews, but it flew under the radar because Spider-Man games weren't super popular at that time. The campaign had you playing as multiple Spider-Man in multiple universes, and each new Spidey had drastically different gameplay. Unlike many Spidey games, Shattered Dimensions is not an open-world game, but rather an old-school level-based one that focused more on the combat and Spidey's various abilities. It's a ton of fun. It's definitely one of the best Spidey games to come out. If you can grab a copy, go give it a run-through. At number 7, 007 Quantum of Solace from Treyarch. Now, this game garnered a bit of a cult following over the years because of its bizarre history. Quantum of Solace was a first-person shooter developed by none other than Treyarch, and it was actually built on the COD 4 engine, making it play quite a bit like Call of Duty as opposed to a James Bond game. However, that being said, the gameplay was pretty fun because not only did you get the smooth shooting of the IW 3.0 engine, you also got a handful of gadgets that Bond could use to progress through the levels. Now, the graphics, they weren't great. Campaign, tad short, weird, but it was fun. There's a lot of appeal to a game like this, and if you like the COD campaigns, you'll probably feel right at home with Quantum of Solace. And if you did play the multiplayer back in the day, what'd you think? I mean, it was actually really fun. Treyarch had to rush it out of the oven, but the end product was honestly a lot better than you expect, and it's worth a playthrough if you can find it. It's pretty hard, though, because it's not available on digital stores anymore. At number 6, B-movie game Beenox. I'm serious. The B-movie video game was developed by one of the COD devs, and of course, it was the one with the B in their name. Beenox slapped this thing together in a pretty short time span in order to coincide with the 2007 movie by Jerry Seinfeld. Now, over the years, B-movie has been immortalized by meme culture and reached the status of so bad, it's good, which bizarrely also applies to the video game. Like most movie games from the 2000s, it's a standard third-person action game with some platforming elements that loosely follows the plot of the film. It even features the voice work of Jerry Seinfeld, John Goodman, and Patrick Warburton, all reprising their roles from the now iconic movie. Now, much like the movie, B-movie game had some bizarre design choices, like in one section where your controls just change without warning and you have to figure it out on your own. It's a weird game, but much like the movie, it's just wacky. It has that 2000s charm. It's nothing amazing, but it's entertaining. And it's a fun fact that it was made by a future Call of Duty developer. At number 5, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, Raven Software. Despite the really, really long title, Jedi Knight 2 is often considered one of the best Star Wars games ever. Developed by Raven, it launched in 2002 for the PC and the Xbox, and it was a first and third-person action game where you played as a mercenary named Kyle Katarn, I think, working for the New Republic, going on various missions, and trying to take down branches of the Imperial Remnant. As you probably tell, the story is sadly not canon anymore, but the game was fun. The gameplay is super smooth, and it's arguably has some of the best lightsaber combat of any Star Wars game ever. It was praised by the critics and gamers alike, and since it's available on Steam, go give it a shot. You may enjoy it. Now let's go back to Spider-Man. Spider-Man Web of Shadows from Treyarch. Yeah, Treyarch used to be one of the Spider-Man developers. Web of Shadows was a Spider-Man game that flew a bit under the radar, but has been getting a lot of attention in recent years as people go back and take another look. Like many Spidey games, it was an open-world action game that let you swing around New York City at will, and there was tons of swinging mechanics that set it apart from other Spidey titles. You could lose yourself just swinging around the map in this game, but the story and the combat, it was pretty good too. Now, Venom's symbiote invades New York, and Spidey has to fight back and get some help from other Marvel characters along the way. Plus, Spidey will be tempted by the symbiote a few times throughout the story, at which point, you can make a choice, and that choice is going to impact the rest of the campaign. Web of Shadows certainly has some issues, but I think it's pretty underrated as far as Spider-Man games go, and since Treyarch worked on it, I figured it was worth the shout, because that's what this video is about, right? At number 3, Quake 4, made by Raven Software. This is a divisive game. Developed by Raven, it was released for the PC, and it was a launch title for the Xbox 360. Now, compared to other games in the series, Quake 4 was a tad simpler to make it less oppressive to console players, but this ended up pushing a lot of old-school players away. Quake 4 also had a much heavier emphasis on the storytelling than previous entries, and the story was actually really good. It got good reviews, it sold well, it just didn't do hot in the long run. The multiplayer died rather quickly as arena shooters weren't very popular with younger gamers, while the older gamers, well, they stuck to Quake 3 Arena instead. I mean, okay, the campaign, it was good. I think Quake 4 single-player offerings are some of the best in the entire series. You can never please everybody, but Quake 4 did its best that it could with the restrictions given. I think it's a good game. At number 2, Spider-Man 2 from Treyarch. Arguably the best movie game ever released. It not only put Treyarch on the map in a big way, but it also completely changed superhero games forever. Released in 2004 alongside the movie, it was the first open-world Spidey game ever released, and many still consider it to be the best. That's saying something. The story follows the plot of the movie and adds more conflicts in. I mean, it lengthens things, it fleshes out the characters, plus all the movie actors return to voice their characters in the game, so you get more Tobey Maguire Spidey. Spider-Man 2 was praised for its open world, its combat, its gameplay, its story, its tone, all of it. It was way above standards of what people expected from a movie tie-in game. Today, many people call Spider-Man 2 one of the best superhero games of all time, but there is one more that I think has it beat. At number 1 today, the best games by COD devs that weren't COD games, Ultimate Spider-Man, Treyarch. Yeah, I think this is the best Spider-Man game ever released. It was a spiritual successor to Spider-Man 2, so it was once again a big open-world Spidey game, but instead of being based on a movie, it was now based on the Ultimate Spider-Man comic series, which was super popular at the time. The game followed the symbiote arc that I'm sure you all know and love, and eventually you even get to play as Venom. You get to swing around the city and deal tons of damage to the environment around you. The symbiote arc of the Ultimate Universe, it's a tad different from the traditional one that usually is shown in movies and TV shows, so the story of the game, it has a lot of fun twists and turns. In the gameplay, I think it's some of the best in Spidey history. Like I said before, it was a spiritual successor to Spider-Man 2. So the combat was basically a more refined version of that. And the open world, it was fantastic. The game unfortunately flew under the radar and it was largely overshadowed by other games at the time. But those who played it will almost always vote it unanimously and agree that it was one of the best, if not the best, Spider-Man games ever released. And that's funny that Treyarch knocked these all out of the park, and now they're known for Call of Duty. So there you have it. Those are games that COD devs, a lot of them got their starts with, and then they ended up being Call of Duty developers. It's pretty crazy because a lot of people don't even realize that these studios made other video games. They just see them for Call of Duty, and that's all they ever see. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon.